Okay, so let's look at future work skills. And by this, one of my philosophies is to start with the end in mind. So you're teaching a course, you want to stay up front what the end purpose is. And truly the end purpose of courses on innovation, on management, on history and philosophy is to enhance your skills, your thinking skills, your critical thinking skills, systems thinking skills, social thinking skills, etc., cultural thinking skills, in order to help you in the workplace and the kind of work the future society will require. So here are some major points that we're going to be exploring throughout the course. First of all, understand the role of your work in a social context, how you impact society. As I've mentioned before, if you're going to design advanced fighter aircraft and weapon systems, aren't you interested in knowing how those artifacts and those technologies are going to be used? Again, I mentioned earlier critical analysis. Ethical judgment. It's important that we actually pause and think about what it is we are designing for society and how society is using it, and our employers, etc. It's important that we bring ethics. We owe it to the profession, but we more importantly owe it to the public and owe it to society. We also want to look at long-term consequences of the technologies that we're involved with. So for generational impact, one of the big things that's happening in the West at the moment is some of the major economies are on the border of bankruptcy. For example, in the United States, the pension fund, there's no way they can fund the pensions of future generations, the current generation. There's no way that the health systems in these countries can support future generations, etc. So we have to have, we can't just look at the near-term profit of the company, but we have an ethical duty to look at the long-term impact on future generations. We have to start thinking about design of a sustainable environment. Now, sustainability has become embedded in most conversations of government, media, etc. And all it is basically making sure we don't take out of the earth and ruin all the earth's resources without being able to replenish them. Because the earth is a closed system. If you go to the moon and look at the earth, put a boundary around it, there is limits to what's in the earth's surface and its climate, etc. We've heard all kinds of debate in recent years. Whether you believe in climate change or not, one ought to still think of sustaining the earth's good fresh air, vegetation, clean water, freshwater lakes, etc. Whether you believe that there's climate change or not, isn't it a good thing to have as part of your ethos some sensitivity about the Earth's environment? We also want engineers to understand the political drivers of change, of technological change. Many engineers are basically focused on embedded in the organization doing calculations on subsystems of a particular technological system, whether it's an aircraft or a transportation system. But we want engineers to also understand the political drivers of those technologies and of change. We want them to understand why technology is accepted, adopted, or rejected. So if nuclear technology is rejected, why is it rejected? And are those that reject it, do they have all the facts and figures? I'm not here to argue whether we should have nuclear or we should not have nuclear, but I'm here to foster the capability to have that discussion. So this course is not about providing any political or policy point of view. It's about providing the oil in the mind to be able to debate it and drill down and think about it in a broader context other than technical, other than this beyond technical. The employers do recognize deficiencies. I've mentioned that before. It is a fact in Western society, engineers are perceived to be socially awkward. We'll talk about more in the public image, socially awkward, and only carry conversations when it's about technical issues, on technical matters, on technical. So if you sit with an engineer, the typical perception is that engineers will drill down, they'll tell you exactly what calculations they're using to do the analysis of the wing of the aircraft, or if they're working on a new kind of efficient internal combustion engine, working on the latest experiments on it. And of course, this is not something that the public really want to talk about. The public want to talk about the impact of a new aircraft or of a new car on their quality of life, not really how it works. How it works is important, absolutely. But again, if engineers are to have a social context, they've got to be able to think broader about the impact of their work. And of course, one of the current things and trends is that in many ways engineers are subservient to professional managers or MBAs. Many engineers go out and get MBAs to avoid this, but the fact is that engineers typically are not in senior management positions throughout most of industry. In the aerospace sector and other highly intensive technical areas, many engineers do reach the very senior executive levels, but as a percentage, it's very, very rare. So that ends the part about future work skills that are required. So the idea here is, of course, to enhance the case for new skills, the case for new courses, and the case for new practices from engineers. So now I'm going to move on to public image.